Twitter sent out. Get our bot in here. Walk on screen. And get the Discord taken care of. Alright. Hello everyone, this is Chris Ingerson, and it is August 1st, and this is the August 1st TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be finishing up our work with the woods layout, and we will be doing a couple of minor adjustments to the layout window so that we can toggle fog on and off in specific places. For the most part, fog's going to be almost everywhere, but there are a few spots that I don't want to actually spawn fog at, basically. Primarily, the only place I really don't want to do that right now is the ancient tree, because I don't want to have I don't want to have fog particles spawn inside the tree. I just want it to kind of spawn around the tree. So, to give you a sense of where we are currently, I'm actually going to collapse a bunch of stuff that we don't need open. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. I am going to select my. Actually, I'm going to test something real quick too. Okay, nice. For some reason, when I booted up today, my particle collection woods was empty, and I know that we had assigned that, so I wasn't really sure why that did that. But I did do a couple of minor adjustments to get things looking a little bit nicer in the editor. But that's not what I was doing there. My main thing was, where are you? Of course, you're hidden. Let's go ahead and come up to layout real quick. I basically just need to select these things so that we generate all of our wonderful, funderful substances, and we don't just have a field of blue to look at. Get that going. So yeah, basically inside of this tree, I just don't want to have fog spawn. Let's look at the graves, look at the mausoleum, and then look at the trees, and we should be good. All right. Before I do that, I also want to adjust the normal bias on that to 0. And everything else is fine. Soft shadows is probably okay. It might be a bit performance intensive. I might want to turn that on to hard shadows, but okay. So let's go ahead and I'll run through and show you where we are currently. I do have fog syncing working. It is I was correct. The culling on the that was weird. The culling that we were seeing on the particle systems when they were out of sight is what was causing our issue. They were basically whenever these fog particle emitters were out of sight, they were no longer updating, and because of that, it was just basically desyncing every time you stopped looking at it. Now you can see that we have still got pop in there. Not from the fog, but from something else. Oh, that makes sense because I totally forgot to do that. We're going to go over here to lighting real quick. I'm going to bump this up to 0.15. That fixed our issues there. So we have fog synchronized across all of the sections now. And the solution for that was essentially pretty easy. All we really had to do was turn off. We just had to turn off local rendering for the particle system. So now instead of rendering in local space, which automatically culls, what we do instead is we render to a custom transform, which is just the which is just the particle system transform. And since it is not rendered in local space, Unity's culling system can't automatically cull it because it doesn't know when it's in sight. So it's slightly less performant, but it is necessary if we're going to do any sort of fog syncing. So I'm not too worried about it because we're only dealing with about 100 particle systems that are emitting like 1 to 2 particles per second. So that's in total about 1 to 200 particles that are being emitted, and they only last for about 4 seconds, I think. So at max, we're looking at about 600 to 800 particles, I would say. Um, Most of which are not being actually rendered because of camera culling. So we have the extra overhead of processing all of that fog, but we don't really have the. It's not so intense because it's just this stuff. It's just billboards, and it is only 600-ish particles. So I'm not really that worried about it. That's not a particularly large amount of particles, considering that most particle systems usually have thousands of particles that they're emitting. Um, Hello, Garrett. Welcome back. Um, yeah, we have fog syncing up now, so it will properly sync across teleportations and across, traveling back and forth across sections. It's just everything's nice and contained. So yeah, the next thing we want to do is basically turn off uh, fog in specific areas. So um, we're gonna update our layout window to basically have a little toggle for each section that we can just click and it'll say don't spawn fog here, basically. Um, so let's see. Big transparent sprites can cause performance problems. I had that with 1D when I made the whole background transparent cloud sprites. So these are not actually sprites, they're quads. They are they're basically just a quad with they're particles. So they're rendering out just as basic quads with alpha support. So it shouldn't be too terrible. But yes, they do face the camera, so you can see that they billboard. Um, so you can they're always going to be looking directly at the camera. But again, they are. If we pause this, we can come over to here. If we select one of these, you can see that they're just quads. So it shouldn't be too imperformant, even though we are no longer culling, um, due to basically targeting themselves in a custom transform. But again, I do not anticipate this actually being super imperformant. Let's see if we can actually make sure we have shadows turned off and all that. I'm pretty sure we don't. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we didn't have anything casting shadows, but just to be sure. So this should not be particularly heavy on the CPU. Again, we only have about 100 particle systems. Well, we have exactly 100 particle systems, and they're all just doing basic billboards with only a little bit of particles being emitted each time. So yeah, it's like one particle every second basically, and they've got a lifetime of 4 seconds. So each system will have at max 5 particles, I'm guessing. And there's only about 100, so that's 500 particles actually. So that's even below what my projections were. Uh, so it shouldn't be too imperformant, even though we're not efficiently culling everything anymore. But the low overhead of this aesthetic, fortunately, I think will save us a lot. So that's basically where we are currently. So we have fog working, we have the layouts seamlessly looping. You can see that we're able to nicely just go through here, and we don't see any pop in. So yeah, the next thing that we want to do is just adjust our tools a little bit so I can turn fog off in specific areas, should I desire it. And after that, we will probably do a couple of other minor things for the woods layout, and we'll finish that all up tonight. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go to Window, SOS, TextQuest, Woods Layout. We're going to grab the entrance, I suppose. So what I want to do is I want to add a field to the elements here that basically just has it'll probably be up at the top, I'm guessing. Maybe below the ID, it'll be a little toggle that just says spawn fog. And if that is checked off, then we will position fog there. If it is not checked off, then we just won't position fog there. Pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and let's close that. Then I'm going to go to woods layout element. Go to here. By the way, Garrett, how are you doing? I was completely rude and forgot to ask. And I suppose we're going to be doing coding today? Well, that doesn't seem right. Huh. Interesting. Oh, what the freak? Really? Weird. Okay, so my sound settings reset? That's interesting. I adjusted those to be my headset before I started streaming. Interesting. Okay, that explains why I couldn't hear myself walking around in there. Well, in any case, let's go ahead and open this up. I'm going to go ahead and put right here. Oh, we'll go ahead and move this up to the very top. Might as well. And then we're just going to go ahead and say tooltip, blah, 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 public bool spawn fog is equal to true. If true, will spawn fog on this section. Fog particles. There we go. Let's see. Doing okay. Porting tons of code from my old prototype to a new game. Inventory, building, crafting, quests, cooking. Ooh, porting. Hopefully that can mostly come over without too much adjustment on your part. Okay, so all we got to do there, let's go ahead and go back to Woods Layout Element, find all references. We're going to go to our custom property drawer. All right, we're going to go ahead and say 11 and 12, and then 11 and 12. Okay, we're looking good there, I think. Let's go ahead and then, so we have our index, we have our ID. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. And instead of ID, it's going to be, what was it, spawn fog, I believe. Yep, pretty straightforward. Everything else should just be fine. So, all right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and let that compile. That should basically let us do what we need to do there. Not sure if I want to try and do any sort of particular overlay effect to indicate that a section is not supposed to have fog spawn in it. I don't really know what we could do there. Besides, I don't know, tinting it again, but we already tint some things. It's possible that you could have multiple tinting on that, so it would be... Let's go ahead and go to Window. We're going to go to our crossroads. Go ahead and open this up. So I'm going to turn off spawn fog there. And maybe it's just not something that I have to worry about. I guess I could put like a little asterisk somewhere, like a yellow asterisk somewhere. That could be somewhat useful, but I don't really have that many places that are going to not spawn fog, so this is probably fine, honestly. So let's go ahead and we're going to save that. I'm going to uncheck you. It's probably okay. So let's go ahead and I'm not going to close that yet, but I am going to go over to close some of the stuff that I have up here. Particle data collection, particle manager, particle data drawer, woods layout new. All right. So for this, oh man, I also forgot about this. So at the end of Tuesday's stream, I got super excited because I got to use a stack, and I almost never get to use stacks. Um, oh man, I'm smiling just thinking about it. Okay, so let's see here. The next thing I need to do is basically handle spawning these effects. Okay, so all we're going to do here is right. So this is going to be a little awkward. Um, essentially, we are going to say if chords of I dot show O dot spawn fog, right? Continue. Okay. So if not that, then we're gonna continue, and that should be all we need to do. Because this is, I should comment these a little bit so I don't get confused. So this is spawn, well, position particles from sections that that are no longer rendered. Also, I have, a network error. Uh-oh. Okay, hold on. Are we doing anything useful? Okay, weird. My, OBS was freaking out for a bit there. Alright. I'm doing okay, porting a ton of code from my old, oh wait, you already did that. Stacks, anything I want from my project, or from my object pool, and that's about it. Oh, you know, a stack probably would be more efficient than a list. I just have everything in a list there. I probably actually should change that to a stack. No real reason for it to be a list. Well, that's a thing for later. Yeah, I don't really get a chance to use stacks very often, but I always kind of get giddy whenever I get to use a stack or a queue, because I just never get to use those things. And it's like, oh yes, these data structures exist, and they are slightly more efficient. So let's do that. Um, I actually would like to do a comparison with my pool manager system to see if, like, what switching over to a stack would give me performance wise. I'm assuming it's very slight, but hey, it's kind of nice to get that little bit of extra performance. Okay, so here we're going to say position particles from below the stage. No free particles, so spawn new ones. A new system. Okay, so I think that's all we really need to do. Because it should basically skip anything that doesn't want to spawn fog, basically. So let's go ahead and we're going to close this. So now if we play, the tree should not have any fog spawning inside of it, and everywhere else should be spawning fog as we would expect. In my own implementation of list. That was a strange experience. Yeah, I did that for my JSON parser, my new one, and it is kind of weird. Just because you have to have so many things that you pull in for iList, um, like a lot of things that you don't even think about that iList has to implement technically, and it just kind of throws everything off. All right, so let's give this a shot. I also done my own custom implementation of iDictionary for the JSON stuff, and it was also weird. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and run through here. Okay, so we shouldn't have any fog spawning in here. Ah, how nice is that? Cool. So we do need to raise the fog a little bit. It's still clipping to the ground, which I think that means we're gonna have to raise it to like 2.75 probably to give it a nice bit of buffer between it and the ground. Uh, so yeah, this works pretty well actually. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop that. I'm going to come up to layout. We're going to get rid of the old woods layout script, and then I'm going to go ahead and give us a like 2.75 off the ground. That should work. Let's go ahead and run around real quick. So I guess actually the real last bit of functionality that we need for the new woods layout is, well, there are technically two things. One is actually important, which is culling transportation areas or teleportation areas, because for some reason they are not detected, and I think what's happening there is they are not getting removed from the list of existing um, sections that the player is inhabiting. And that's not too much of a problem, but it does mean that there is a fair amount of sections that are just left in the void, and it would be nice to not have that essentially. Um, all right, so I'm going to make sure again that it's not rendering. Aha, no fog in here. All right, so that's looking pretty good. The next thing that I want to do is I want to adjust some of the teleportation values because we are getting some odd behavior here. Turn on stats because I kind of want to see it. We're in the 14 milliseconds on the CPU. We have some pretty good batching going on at least. We only have about 30 set pass calls at max, I think. Might be a little bit more when we get near the excuse me. When we get closer to the tree, I think we can go up to like 32-ish and stuff. Graveyard is probably the most. I think that's up to like 50-ish. So we don't really get too many set pass calls, which is nice. Right, volumetric fog. Technically, that is correct. All right, so you'll see if I run down this path, I get teleported to the wrong spot. So we just need to make sure that these are targeting the right areas. Let's go ahead and stop playing. Okay. We're going to go to Window, SOS. I probably should move that over to... Alright, we'll do that real quick. So I'm going to go to, I believe it's Trident. So right here, we are teleporting to, let's see here. Looks like Fork to 8. So Fork to 8. That's curious. So that should be correct, but it's not. All right. Possible. Oops, not this. Hold on. Well, there are a couple of things that I need to do here anyway. First up is going to be, we're going to increase the size of this by 1. And we're going to increase the height by 2. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and say shift down. And then I'm not going to shift right. I just need to sign these up. So we're going to change this to path X. I really want to redo this so that it's a fancier dropdown. That would be so much better, but whatever. All right, We got that. Let's go ahead and apply some of these. This is going to be corner, top right, top right, right there. And then, let's see, path. I think it's top left to bottom right. Let's see, angle T up. Okay, what are you? Path TLBR. Path TLBR. Ah. Okay, there you go. So that's correct now. So we want this to be corner, bottom right. And then this is going to be path PR, bottom right. Okay. So that should address one of the issues that we were seeing where we could kind of see the edge of the world there when we got too close. So this should fix that problem. The other thing I'm curious about, so this goes right back to Trident, so this should loop back around. Ooh, it was targeting the wrong spot, which makes some amount of sense. So this should be 2 and 6. Oh, right. Hypothesis. So this is going for 3, 5, which is actually here. I moved everything down by 1. Well, let's see where this goes. I have the feeling that this number is not correct now. So let's go ahead real quick. I'm actually going to go to entrance. Where do you go? You go to 2, 8 on crossroad. Okay, so yeah, it should be targeting the actual number. So let's go ahead and we're going to say go to Trident. So this should be 2, 6. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and say, I'm going to save. Then we're going to go ahead and go to fork. So this is targeting again 2, 8 on fork. 2, 8, which should be correct. And this goes back to 6, 2 on Trident, which should be 7, 2. Maybe that's the problem. Let's try that. So we're going to go back to fork. So this should be 7, 2. Okay. Where do you go? None. Right. That makes sense. Because this is actually, I believe, the exit that I want. So this is actually going to be none. And instead, we are going to give it a top side. Well, actually, here. Let's go to the left side of trees. Ooh. That is a good question. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So we're going to say trees on the left. No. We'll do none here. So actually, this is going to be trees up top. It's going to be trees, trees, and all of these actually need to be trees. So we basically need a wall of trees. That way I can do this. So we're going to have left side trees, right side trees, trees. Okay. Everything else should be good. Where do you go? You go to the apple tree, 2, 5, which I think is correct. Apple tree, 2, 5. Yep. 8, 6 in fork. Is that correct? Yep, 8, 6. All right. We do have our tree. Our clutter is trees. Thanks for fine. Where do you go? You just ramp in on yourself. Okay. Where do you go? And why are you ramping around like that? 2-2? Oh, that's why. That kind of makes sense. So if you're wondering why this wrapping is happening here, unlike everything else which wraps around to itself, this is close enough to the tree here that it's visible if you teleport back to it. So if it wrapped, you would actually see the tree. You wouldn't be able to see the tree here, but as soon as you wrapped, you would be able to see it, and it would just pop into existence basically. So we just cheated that by having to teleport you to there. Um, okay, there is nowhere else that we really need to go. So I think we're. Oh wait, actually I totally forgot to do the other thing. We're gonna go back to fork here, and here I'm going to say the clutter is grove transition, and that should actually no. It's gonna be here, I guess. So let's go ahead and say grove transition, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add two to this. Shift down, because I kind of need to. So this is going to be path Z with trees on the left and the right. Okay, so that should be a big enough runway for us to not worry about running off the edge or anything. I suppose real quick I can also render a little like tint over this that'll make it greenish, I'm guessing. I want to easily identify where my entrances are, and even though I know where those are, it would be nice to be able to just have it kind of be highlighted. Ooh, do I not have? Okay, so there's the planes. I guess that actually makes sense. So we're gonna go ahead and pop over. See, that's one of the things where I thought it was somewhere else. So let's go to the fork. I'm actually going to go ahead and uncheck this. Make that none. We're gonna put it here instead. Road transition. All right. So let's go ahead and save. That also gives me the benefit of doing a couple of other things. So we are going to, let's see here. Woods layout element. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna look for it. So this will be, I think it's woods layout window. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, well this lets me put everything into a good spot. So this is going to be Sleepy Owl Software. Before I save anything, I do want to make sure that that's what it is. Yep, there we go. Okay, so we're good there. And then I want to our wonderful shift left, draw a map, go to definition. Okay, so if we are drawing any of this stuff, then we are drawing an extra rect. Then we're going to say else if element dot clutter is equal to this dot transition, or element dot clutter is equal to that transition. We're going to go ahead and grab this. And this is going to be green. So 1, 0. Okay. So it's going to give it a little bit of a green tint to this. So we should see that pop up right here. Excuse me. Also, one of the things that I'm a little worried about for the teleportation that we were seeing here is... Oh crap, I gotta redo the teleportation again. Okay, I'll give that a second. Alright, nice. So we have a obvious indicator where that needs to go. So this is 210, it goes to 7.2 on Trident. 210. Okay, 210, 210. I'm gonna go ahead and save that. So I'm a little worried that's basically what's happening when we teleport here, is that it's teleporting to the other position and then immediately teleporting back to here. And that's why it's kind of wonky, but we'll see. Um, all right, so let's go ahead and stop this. I'm actually going to real quick. Let's go down to Apple Tree. Where does this go? It goes to Graveyard. Right. Okay. I need some more padding on this. So I'm going to go ahead and do 13. Increase its size by 2. Let's go ahead and add that. I'm going to shift down. I'm going to turn this up to be path Z. We don't particularly need anything there. We're going to go ahead and let's go to path Z and no trees. We do want to spawn fog though for that. I think that's all we really need. Oh, right, that's what I was doing. So on these, I basically want to make these don't wrap. I have to go back to the other thing or the other map to fix this too, by the way. So don't wrap, and ooh, that might be enough. All right. So for this, we want to have the bottom side be trees. We're gonna have trees all over the place here. Trees. Trees. Left and right here are going to be trees. Let's see, trees again. And that should be good. So we are probably going to want to change this. So this was targeting Graveyard 4-2. Let's go ahead and set that to none. Oh, right, sorry. So this is none. And then this is going to be target Graveyard 4-2, I believe is what it was set to. Let's go ahead and grab that. And then the next thing that I need to do is we need to go back to, I think it was fork. Yep, so these don't need to wrap up top anymore. That does not make sense, so we're just going to get rid of them. Which does actually mean that these can be none. Which means no trees. And the other thing I need to do is make sure that I'm not spawning trees here. I totally forgot to do that. So none there. So these need to be set to none. That'll make things nice and cheap. Oops. Oh, right. And the trees need to be set to none as well, just to be safe. Oh man, this is where I wish I had bulk edit operations. That would be nice, but good God, I have no idea how to even approach that with something like this. I would have to allow for multi-toggle editing, which is a bit difficult, but I guess it could work in theory, but that's a bit odd. I do really want to simplify these, though. Hmm. I. Yeah, it's all right for now. Let's go ahead and hit none. Do. Let's go ahead and do set this to none. None. Lots of nuns that I have to set everything to. And yet no nuns. Let's go ahead and do none. Yeah, batch operations here would be much better. I was debugging my running game for so long it started showing in game. Oh, it started snowing in game. Had your season set up, so you took so long that it got to winter. None, none, none. Oops. None. Stop it. None. One of the other benefits to having these things be presented, the IDs presented in a more readable fashion, is that it would actually let me shrink the number of things that you see at once by making them nested. So I'd probably have like straight, so it'd be like straight, and then Z, straight X, straight TLBR, straight TRBL. Then straight center, and then BR, which is that basically. And straight end. And then corners, then angles, and then T's, and then crosses. So I can do that actually real quick. I would like to do that just so that I don't have to constantly look at it. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go to Woods wrap type, Woods layout element. We're going to go to Woods section ID, go to definition. So we're going to keep the values, but we're going to rename things. So this is going to be rename. We're going to call it straight. If I could spell straight. Is that a good name? Straight Z? Straight X? Straight TLBR? I guess. Honestly, I can't really think of anything else to do with it. So we're going to do straight Z. Let's rename this to straight X. Let's rename this. This is going to be straight. So this is going to be top left. Top left. To bottom right. Terrible. Let's rename that again. So this is going to be TL to BR. This, and I can't use the underscore anymore for that because it would straight TR to BL. I guess I could do something like that. That's fine. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and say center, bottom right, center, bottom right, rename this, center, LB, rename this to center underscore LT. This will also give me a chance to show something that I have only done once, and after doing it for the first time, I smacked my head and I was like, why did I never think of this before? And that is making custom property drawers for just enums. Because I've obviously, if you've watched me for any amount of time, you know that I love doing custom editor stuff. But for some reason, until fairly recently, it never crossed my mind to make custom editors for basic types that really only do very small things. But those can be very nice. So we can actually make custom property drawers for wood section for like a enum value. and that will basically let you format it however you want. It's pretty nice, actually. So we're going to go ahead and that's center. This is going to be called, we'll call these ends, or end up is fine. Straight down, and left. Let's rename these. This is end top left. Okay. So this is corner. Let's go ahead and rename this. Pretty straightforward on these ones, actually. The reason that I'm renaming them and getting rid of the underscores is because you can't actually insert a / like that in enum values. So the property drawer is basically going to need to replace a specific character, and enums, the most convenient character to replace is an underscore. I'm actually not sure if you can even use any other characters in a value. I don't think you can use dot. Nope, you cannot. So yeah, underscore is basically what gets replaced. No, it's not enum flag. I have used flag before, although admittedly I haven't used it very much. So this is going to be, let's rename this. So this is corners, bottom left, top right. We'll do bottom left and top right. This is top left and bottom right. Top, bottom, left, right. Sure, I don't actually remember those. Seems a bit odd. Oh wait, no, I remember that now. Okay. So we're gonna say angle. So this will be bottom to. We'll just try that. B to TL. Let's rename this. Okay. Let's see. Go ahead and rename this. Get rid of you. Rename this. But yeah, I do actually wish I had more opportunities to use the enum flag or the flags attribute or whatever it's called. Just because it is actually very useful, but it's kind of specific. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to rename you. So I'm going to do this and all the way back to here. All right, so this is going to be T up, basically, so that's all we got to do. Let's rename you. Rename you. And rename you. Okay. I guess I could just do like X cross and then no, we'll do this like as cross and then angled. We're gonna rename this to cross underscore standard. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so that's pretty obvious, or pretty good. So let's go ahead and rename this one. I'm just going to call you ancient tree and then special ancient tree. All right, so let's let that compile. That's not going to immediately change anything, although it should give us a little bit better naming consistency. Let's see. Okay. Let that compile real quick. Should it actually, choose to do so? Because you can't rush these things. You gotta be patient. All right. So we are going to go ahead and so you can see what this currently looks like. If we go over here, everything is kind of a little bit better organized, and now we're going to basically make this look pretty. So let's see. That was, what is that value? It's wood section ID, which is somewhere around here. Okay, so that's in the woods, but for some reason it's not in the layout, which is a bit odd. So let's go ahead and move that into here, I feel. Well, I guess it's next to wood section ID, so fine. All right, so we want, where are you? It's probably under editor, somewhere terrible. So Nod Woods, I believe that's correct. So we go to Nod Woods. Yep. All right, so this again is wood section ID drawer. So we're just going to create C# script. Woods section ID drawer. Darn it! Why do I keep doing that? I still haven't gotten used to this this workflow, and now I've got to delete this and wait for it, which is shaking my fist because I keep doing this. So I've added custom script templates for editor and property drawer scripts, so that I don't have to keep like adding using Unity Engine or Unity Editor and using sleepyowl.com and blah blah blah, all that fun stuff. So let's get rid of that. We'll try this again. So you can actually I've messed with modifying the script templates before, but I've never actually added my own until recently. And it's actually really, really nice being able to just have a template for scripts that you make fairly frequently, but are different from standard C# scripts. It's nice when you're doing specifically, in this case, editor scripts, to have that that baseline chunk of code that you have in almost all of those scripts just ready to go. It's a minor thing. It probably only saves me about 15 seconds per script, but yeah, over the course of a lifetime, that that adds up, I guess. So once this is finished compiling, I can show that to you. All right. So I can go up to Create, Editor, and then Property Drawer Script. That's what we want. So I'm going to call this Woods Section ID Drawer. That is correct, I believe. Woods Section ID Drawer. Go ahead and open that up. And there, you can see that we have a bunch of extra stuff here, which is pretty nice. So opening that up, bam! It is already it's already got a custom property drawer, already got Unity Editor and all that fun stuff. So this is going to be text quest. It's going to be custom property drawer type of Woods section ID. Pretty straightforward. And I'm actually a little curious now. Whatever. So we don't have to do anything with get property height, so we can just delete that. The only thing we really need to do here is basically this. So we're going to go ahead and say private void, oh, not void. Yeah, all right, void. GUI, how do I want to do this? Initialize labels. We're going to come up to here. We're going to say private static GUI content. I'm just going to call this labels is equal to new GUI content of 0. And all we're going to do is we're just going to say, I guess I need to do this customly. So our main thing here is going to be Let's see. We're going to do this the lazy way, and it should be fine. We are going to simply say label, well, if labels dot length is equal to 0, we'll call initialize labels. And then we're just going to say editor GUI dot begin change check. Oops, if editor GUI dot end change check. And then we're going to say a couple of things. Int index is equal to 0. Actually, that's not what we care about for now. We're just going to... should that work? Yes, I think that will work. So there is one thing that you have to be careful with if you're doing custom labels like this, and that is making sure that the index value is correct, and I think we will be fine here. So what I want to do is I want to say int index is equal to property dot enum index. I believe this is what we want. And then we're going to just say index is equal to editor GUI dot drop down, what is it? Pop-up, that's what it is. So it's going to be enum pop-up, except actually it's just going to be pop-up. Well, actually, can enum pop-up, will that give me control over the labels? No. Okay, so I do have to do pop-up. So we're going to say pop-up, and then we're going to say it's going to position its selected index is, well, here's our label. Its selected index is index, and then displayed options are labels. And then we're just going to say property dot enum index value, or enum value index is equal to index. So this, for the most part, we're not doing anything too fancy here. If I really wanted to be fancy with this, I would probably alphabetize my labels. And once we start doing that is when we start getting into the more complex procedures that you have to do. You basically have to like grab the enum value. So instead of enum value index, you would just say int value. That gives you the raw integer value of the enum. And then you're going to have to loop through an array of values that are sorted by, or that are set up to be indexed to match where those particular labels are in your labels array. And basically you just have to do a bunch of weird moving numbers around to make sure that everything syncs up properly. But if you do that, you can actually get some really nice effects. You can sort alphabetically enums so that you can easily present them to people. This is the sort of thing that I'm not really worried about because it's just me. If I was developing this tool for someone else to use, I would probably go that extra step to make sure that everything's presented all nice and alphabetically. But here, it's fine for it to just be in order, basically. So all we have to do here is we're just going to say a couple of things. We're going to say string array is, these will be names, is going to be equal to enum extensions, which you're not going to have because I need to common. So enum extensions dot get name values, and we will pass in wood section ID. Okay, so that gives me the string values for everything, and then from there we're going to say labels is equal to new content. That is size to the names dot length. Pretty straightforward there. And we're just going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than names.length, I plus plus. And then we're going to say labels of I is equal to new GUI content, names of I dot replace our underscore char with a / That's all we have to do there. So let's go ahead and let this compile, and magically all of our IDs here should be nicely formatted. pile. I'm going to take a drink. And while that's going on, I can real quick show you my templates. That's where we're going to go to Program Files, Unity, Hub, Editor. So we're here. We go to Standard, not Standard Assets, Data, Resources. It is buried, by the way, if you want to get to these things. So these are the two scripts that I added. 93 editor __ editor script dash new editor script. And when you're creating script templates, by the way, you have to follow a very specific format. So you need to have a number. From my experience, for some reason, this number needs to be different from previous numbers. That could just be a coincidence, and maybe I actually set it up correctly after my first try. I tried initially to make these 81, I think, to line up with C# script stuff, but that did not really work out very well. And basically the structure is 90, so the number, which I think is just a number, I'm not entirely sure what it does actually, then dash, and then the submenu, if you want one, with 2 underscores separating it from the next item, then the name that you want to show in the context menu, followed by a dash, which is then followed by the name, the default name for the scripts. So it's a weird setup, but it's convenient if you can get it to work. And I thought that I had set this up actually. Okay, so I guess I'm not. At work, I have set this up so that script name is also here as a test thing, because in theory, most of my editors and property drawers are basically the same name as the thing that they are custom editors and custom property drawers for, just with editor or drawer staped onto the end. So anyway, let's go ahead and close this. We'll come back to here. I'm going to select you, and there we go. You can now see that all of our stuff is presented in this nice nested approach, or nested format. The only downside to that is that we aren't getting the nice spacing that we were getting before. So in the default drawer, bottom left and top right had spaces between everything. If I wanted to really be like fancy about it, I could manually go through and parse all those things and then add the spacing myself. But it's not really, a lot. It's not really much of an issue to try and read it like this. So I'm not really that worried about it. Okay, so we want this to be none. Okay, that was interesting. Did it just take a while? Okay. So we're going to go ahead. I'm also going to go ahead and try setting this to different ones just to make sure that everything is set up correctly. Yeah, okay. So we're good. Yep, we're good. So we're setting that back to none. No trees. Ironically, I am not actually getting a huge performance or a huge bonus because I was setting everything to none anyway, but it's good for future editing. None and none, none and none. Okay. That took way too long. Let's go to, real quick, we want to go to Apple Tree, I think, right here. It's a never-ending battle. I wonder if I can, I wonder if I could do that, actually. Like shift-clicking to do multi-selecting, that would kind of be cool. It would be... It would be more frustrating than I would like. Plus, to switch the system over to doing multiple, or to supporting multiple selections, I would basically have to change how the active selection is set. Instead of being a single value, it would have to be an array of values, that can be added to and removed from. So that would work in theory, and it would probably be fine, honestly, but that's just not the structure that we have right now, so it wouldn't actually be super timely for me to do that. None. only I was forward thinking. If I was, I would have probably been able to avoid this situation. I would have tried to basically have multi-editing support enabled from the get-go. But the nice part about this is that we don't really have to these adjustments are obviously going to get me a little bit of extra performance because we're no longer going to be spawning empty sections with trees. Okay. So this is going to, what happened? There you go. So this is going to graveyard for 2. I believe that is correct. This is 610 on the apple tree, 610 for 2, 610. Okay. That is good. Straight Z. Okay, we're all looking nice here. Okay. So this is Crossroad 5-3. Let's make sure that is correct as well. Crossroads 5-3. 416 in the graveyard. Okay, so nice. Let's go to Crossroads. I think we are all good here. Think anyway. So let's go ahead and see what's up. Yes, you're all looking good. Oh, so this is 3-3, which is going to 4 right there. A little iffy there. 3-3 is fine. Let's go back to our trident. Right. So this needs to go to 3-3. Okay. All right. So we should be good. Let's go ahead and close this, hit save, and try it out. All right. So, don't have any extra fog in here. Let's run around. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's see if the... Oh, what the frick? What just happened? What? What? What is going on? Okay. Huh. Okay, let's try this. Woods layout. Let's go to our crossroads. Where are you going? You're going to Trident 2-5. Well, that would probably be one of the reasons. So it needs to go to Trident 2-6. This is going to 8-8. Correct. Okay, so this is 2-6 is what we want. That was somewhat disturbing. Okay. So let's try that. Hopefully that was the only miscommunication that happened there. That's weird. I don't remember changing that value. Oh wait, but I did add to the trident, which makes sense. Okay. So that was my fault. Alright. So we're gonna go ahead and come down here. Run around. Okay, so that's looking good. Fog is looking good too, by the way. It doesn't look like we have any more clipping issues. Got a decent height. So the fog basically I think is going from about this height, my crouching eye line, maybe a little bit lower. Yeah, about that, to about a little bit below the tree tops, which is kind of what I wanted, so we're good. Keep running. In theory, it should just wrap just forever. It did no such thing. What on earth? Okay, so maybe it did. I'm going to turn off stats and maximize on play. We're just going to try running around and see what happens there. Because I get the feeling that it did teleport me. But it teleported me to something that was despawned? Which shouldn't really be possible. So keep an eye up top. That should be the trident section. Okay, so we're going to keep going. Interesting. Okay. Huh. So let's try that one more time, but if you noticed, it looked like there was a frame that we spawned everything in on, and then we immediately despawned all of that stuff. How interesting. I don't know if it despawned after I teleported or if it despawned immediately after I entered the section. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so we're going to here. Let's keep an eye on this. I'm just going to take this slowly. Okay, so there's... All right, so we are currently... What is going on here? Why did you freeze after I selected you? What's going on? Why did you freeze? You're not doing anything. Okay, weird. Okay, so obviously we have a bunch of these sections that are loaded into memory. Okay, so seriously? Why? Why on earth are you so freaking... Oh? You're an instance? That's interesting. Okay. Come on, stop with this. So, here is my theory. We are just we are just entering this section, but we have not left the previous one. So you can see here, if we move over to Hero, you can see it's a little tough, but we are still inside the bounds of this previous section. Okay, now we're going to keep those selected, and I'm going to keep moving forward. And as soon as I completely exit, freaking. So as soon as I exit that, although it's kind of hard to tell if I actually have, but I'm assuming that I have, it immediately despawned this particular section. So we don't want that. Okay, so we go to section info. We have a target. That's our path. This does not have any sort of wrapping. This one does. Okay. So I am assuming that when it despawns a section, it is despawning that wrap buffer. So let's go back to our woods layout, not test. There we are. Okay. So this is all that happens on player exit. So we remove the inhabited sections, we remove the coordinate from the list of inhabited sections, which is actually a dictionary. Well, it's a list within a dictionary. We're not playing, are we? No. Okay. So I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to throw in private void update, and we're just going to say if input dot get key down key code dot wow, that was terrible. Key code dot num. Okay. Keypad. We have keypad enter. That's probably too much. We'll just do keypad 0. So if I hit keypad 0, then I'm going to basically log everything. So I'm going to say for int I equals 0. Nope. For each collection ID, col ID in inhabited sections dot keys. Then we're just going to do debug dot log. Oh, actually no. And then for int I equals 0, I is less than inhabited sections of col ID dot count I plus plus and then we're just going to say debug dot log string dot format oops dot format okay, so this is going to be the col ID and then inhabited sections of col ID dot of I. Okay, so that should basically let me verify that the section that we are currently residing in is actually being inhabited, and that the previous section is actually being uninhabited, as it were. The other thing we want to do is go to despawn section buffers, go to definition, and there are a few things that we need to do. So current buffer set add range, we are basically adding in all of our variables for the current buffer. I should comment this a little bit so I don't forget what my own stuff is. So we're going to say grab the buffer coordinates associated with this coordinate, or with the coordinate being despawn. Well, okay, with the coordinate, I guess. Okay, and all we're going to do is we're going to say if current buffers. Oh wait, I'm sorry, with inhabited sections. Grab the buffer coordinates. Okay, so then we're going to loop through all of our existing sections. Did we ever do anything with this? Yes. So we're going to say if col ID is equal to collection ID for each of the positions, which is in the sections. If not, current buffers dot contains positions. So that to me implies that current buffers is not including the ones that we have entered. We have inhabited sections not had. Okay, spawn section buffers, spawn missing section fog effects. That is probably okay. Hmm. 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 Okay. So let's see what values we get when we debug that, I suppose. Because this shouldn't really matter because we check to make sure that our current buffer contains those positions. So if not that and not or right. So if the inhabited sections doesn't contain the collection ID at all, or if our inhabited sections at the collection ID does not contain the position that we're trying to despawn, then it should be fine. I think we're good, but wrap buffers is probably what's being examined here. So we're going to go through all of our positions. So if not, wrap buffers dot collection. What is wrap buffers? There we go. Does not equal call ID. Does not equal or is equal to position ID. Go ahead and comment this a little bit. Skip buffers not in the target collection. Skip buffers that and positions are just this. Skip buffers with existing chords. That's not right. I don't think. If not, inhabited section. We're going to say skip inhabited sections. So this is weird. Wrap buffers dot coordinates is equal to positions of I. So I guess we'll just say. So we'll say skip wrapping buffers. I think that's fine. All right. So I'm curious if what's basically happening here is that it's not properly setting what my inhabited sections are. I can't guarantee that that's the case, but that's really all I can think of that would cause this issue. It's either that or the more likely option, which is that somehow my evaluation safety checks there are missing a case, and it's just recycling it anyway, which would suck, but it would basically only amount to doing a bunch of debugging. So let's go ahead and hit play. Okay. And there we go. Real quick, I'm going to keep maximize on play turned off for now. However, I am going to test this. So if I hit 0, we just have entrance 511. That's good. Okay. So let's run back over to where we were seeing the problem. I hate when the cursor stays on screen. We're going to run around. Admire all the beautiful fog. Get angry. So I think right about here. One more. Ah! Okay, let me try this again. Okay. Step one, I want to see what this is, and I'm going to check. So this is straight X. This is what is my... Ah, you're terrible. You're not going to let me see it, are you? Debug this. Layout index is 7.6. Okay, so 7.6 is what we're looking for there. And the other thing is now I'm going to go ahead and debug everything again. Trident 7.6 and 8.6. Okay, so let's walk forward some more. I'm going to do it again. It does not have 7.6 anymore. It does have 8.6. So, yeah, that is problematic. It means that my safety checks are failing there. So let's go ahead and do a couple of things. I'm going to stop playing. I'm going to pet my cat because, of course, she wants all of the attention in the world. And then I'm going to come back to here and we're gonna look at this. Oh, right. So 7.6 was the value, correct? So let's go ahead and go to CVL Software, Text Quest, Woods Layout. We're going to go to Trident 7.6. I'm going to change this into, let's see, an angle corners. All right. So I'm going to make it a blatantly different tile there. Yes, cat, I see you. That way we can more easily judge the edge here. So the next thing that I guess I can do that over here too. So I'm going to change this to corners, just left. So now basically the center points of those will be where the line is. The next thing I want to do is we're going to go ahead and just close that, close you, hit save, and then we are going to debug these particular areas. So debug.log despawn wrap buffer, and then we're just going to say positions plus positions of I. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and copy this. We're going to paste this here. This is going to be debug sibling buffer. I'm curious to know where it is. I should probably also do this. String.format. Debug wrap buffer. Positions of I. Call ID. Sorry, call ID. All right, so this should give me an understanding of when these things are particularly being despawned. After I call despawn, by the way, I do actually want to call, what is it, despawn fog. I think it's just despawn. Okay, nope. Fog, clear missing section fog effects. Boop. Which I don't actually want to do. Okay, yeah, sure. So we're going to do that. That should... Nope. 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 How unfortunate. Okay, so I basically have to do this. Hmm? Where are you going? Right here. Okay, so I'm going to do this. So we're actually going to come back to here. We're going to paste that. And then I'm going to go ahead and say I is equal to 0. We're going to make this a list. Where are you? That is clearly not correct. Fog effects is equal to that. So particle to root system. Particle root system. Okay. Go ahead and copy that. Come down to here. Go down to there. Go down to there. Pretty straightforward. That should properly clean up our fog when we leave an area. You'll notice that when the previous buffer despawned, uh, it didn't actually clean up the fog, um, and that's because we were only cleaning up fog when we entered a section, not when we exited one. So this should make everything okay. It probably does make that code a bit redundant, um, because now it's almost impossible for you to ever have any free fog. It's always going to be recycled all the way down to the bottom, but yeah, it's fine for now. All right. So we should see this stuff in pretty short order. Redundant code is redundant. Very true. Okay, so we're going to run through here, despawn sibling buffer. And of course, all of that stuff is going to give me terrible, terrible times here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and clear this. All right, so right here, at the point of these two, is right where things are going to spawn. Okay, so we have everything spawned in there, and then the moment I cross, there we go. So we are entirely despawning our sibling buffer. And I think it was like something 7.6, I believe. Let's go ahead and grab this real quick. I forget what you are. 7.6. Yeah, okay. So this is in 7.6. And so that makes it 6.6, 5.6, 4.6. So 3.6 and basically everything else on the sixes. So 1, 2, 3. And it's because it's the sibling buffer. Which means, so if not current buffers contains. Right, okay, that's basically what I was doing wrong. I was ignoring, if it was a sibling buffer, I was ignoring the wrap buffer stuff, which is what I theorized I was doing, but okay, so let's see, inhabited sections, that's basically this chunk right here. So I'm going to structure this the same, I think. We're just going to like move this stuff up to here. So we're going to say if that, then we're going to call continue. And then if current buffers dot contains that, we will go ahead and do it. But if reason that I wanted to treat siblings specially. I wouldn't have thought so. So let's see, current buffers. Um, yeah, I guess I do want to treat them a little bit differently, but that sucks so hard. Okay, so I essentially need to say, does the wrap buffers, or do the wrap buffers have any sort of thing like this? Oh, gross. Okay. Well, great. So for now, I guess I'm going to do this. I'm going to stick this right here. Private bool uh, do is buffer referenced vector to int chord woods layout collection ID, and then a list of this, I guess. So we're going to say return false at the very end. Otherwise, we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than warp buffers dot count I plus plus. If warp buffers of I dot collection does not equal collection ID, so that's not the case. We're just going to continue. We don't care. Otherwise, we're going to say if warp buffers of I dot coordinates are equal to coord, return true. So all we're going to do here is say if wrap, I'm sorry, buffer is buffer referenced positions of I col ID followed by warp buffers. Continue. Okay, I think that's good. All right. So yeah, okay. So let's go ahead and try that. I think we're good. Just trying to make sure that everything is going the way I would expect. So let's go ahead and let that compile. Clear that stuff out. Okay. So, assuming that this works, I think we'll have all of our layout functionality pretty much done. There are two key things that I do still have to do. One is currently our wrap sections are not being cleaned up after you teleport away. They are still left there, which makes sense for the initial teleportation, but they should be cleaned up after you leave that teleportation area, and they are not being done, or that is not being done. So that means that I need to, excuse me, I basically need to handle cleaning those up properly. Okay. Also, I'm a little worried that I did something stupid. Okay, apparently not. We're gonna run all the way over there. Okay, for some reason, some fog particles were not positioned correctly, I don't think. You're not cleaning up anything, are you? You're not. That would be why. Cool. Cool. Okay, let's see. If not... Okay, it's actually if that. So if inhabited sections contains key, col ID, then we want to continue. And if... Well, actually, in either case, if not that, then we want to continue. Nope. Okay, so if that and that now we want to. So that's why the fog didn't show up, because I had actually run out of fog and had to spawn more. Inhabited sections, so if it contains this key and it contains the position we're looking at, we're going to skip it because it's inhabited. But if it doesn't have either of those, then we're going to go down. If it's not referenced, and if it is referenced by the buffer, we're going to continue. Otherwise, if our current buffer contains that, why would I do it like that? That can't be right. I get the feeling that this needs to be set to be false. So we'll see, though. I'm guessing it does need to be false, though. Okay, we're going to let that compile, and then see what happens. And if I'm correct, then the fears I had will happen right away. Otherwise, we should be fine. So, let's see. We'll let you go. No, you want to. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to clear this out. Okay. Aha! I knew it! Yes. So that's literally, I was right. It needed to be not current buffers that contains that. It's like, so that's actually what I expected to happen the first time we played, and that's where I kind of got a little skittish. I'm like, oh no, something terrible is going to happen, and then nothing did, and I was just kind of like, uh-oh, that probably means something worse has happened. And I was right. So this should fix the issue. Um, so now everything should despawn as we would expect. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to clear this. Play. All right. So let's run around. Okay. So that should be spawning correctly. Let's find out. Let's go eke towards this. Okay, so it didn't despawn it. It did despawn sections that it shouldn't have, though, because now we're going to see this. And, okay. Okay, let's try that again. So my despawn buffer is still kind of messed up. If it's a sibling buffer, it seems. Which is interesting. I wonder if they're despawning each other, basically, which is what I was afraid of. And I have hiccups now. That's how stressed I am. Okay, so everything is spawning pretty nicely. It's just that we have this one particular... I can't call it an edge case, though, because I actually have that happening in multiple areas. And they are areas that I know I need them to function in. So let's go ahead and clear this. We're going to go ahead and say resume. Okay, so this is spawning in. It despawned. Let's see. Despawning sibling buffer. It's all sibling buffers again. We despawn 3, 6, 1, 6, but not 2, 6. Okay. So that means wrap buffers. And it's always siblings. Collection.get buffer coordinates. Okay, I think I know what's happening here. What is happening, I believe, is that so essentially when we grab our wrap buffers here, it's only grabbing the literal wrap buffer, not any of its surrounding buffer spaces, which is problematic. So I need to go to get connection data. Yes, this literally just returns the immediate targets and not its surrounding sections, which means that I need to actually, in addition to doing that, we need to go back to Woods Layout New, and ooh, this gets so complicated. Okay, we're not playing, right? Yeah, okay, so we're going to stop playing. So I need to have a dictionary now, too. So dictionary of Woods Layout Collection ID, and then a list of... Man, this is so much effort whenever we despawn stuff. Then a list of vector2 ints. And this is going to be wrap buffer buffers. Individual sections that are wrapped to buffers around wrap sections. Okay. So to do this, we have get buffer coordinates. Right. So then, in addition to that, I need to say all right, fine. We're going to say if wrap buffers dot contains key call ID. We're going to say wrap buffers dot add call ID, and then new blah blah blah. So if not that. Okay, then we're just going to say warp buffers of call ID dot add range it's going to be this whole thing. Right. I think this is not despawning correctly, actually. So this is grabbing all buffer coordinates for the collection that we're targeting, but it's not doing it for all the cull IDs, which means that we're not actually getting anything particularly useful. Which means I need to do this. Collection, are you used anywhere else? No, you're only used there. Yeah, crap. You are used to do that. Oh, are you not used anywhere? Oh, hey! Hey! Cool. So this is gonna come back to here. We're gonna paste you in here. Are we using you for anything? The active section, I guess. But do we even use that for anything? Cool. Okay. So this is gonna be cull ID. This is all correct, or rather, it should be. So this is gonna be. It's gonna be this whole thing again. But instead of visible area, it's going to be wrap area, I think. Okay. So let's try this. This is going to be get visible buffer wrap buffer and then get buffer. Oh, this is going to be get wrap sections and get wrap section buffers. Okay. So let's try that again. I think, actually that's not going to do anything because I haven't actually told it to ignore the wrap buffers. Blah. Okay. So here we're going to say if, not inhabited sections, wrap buffer, sorry, warp buffer buffers dot contains key cull ID and warp buffer buffers of cull ID dot contains positions of I. Then we're going to call continue. Okay. This should probably also be here. I think this should also be like this, shouldn't it? So if inhabited section contains key cull ID and I'm pretty sure we actually want that both places. Okay. So let's try that. And then that'll I'm hoping that'll work. And then we'll probably call it a night after that. We'll see. Okay. Gonna compile Unity? I believe in you. There we go. Sometimes it just needs a little encouragement. Okay. Let's see. It's gonna work. It's gonna be perfect. Because I've never made a coding mistake ever in the last 2 seconds. Shoot. Ah. Our wrap buffers are despawning now, so it's actually worse. Bah! Okay. So... pretty sure it was this. Well, crud. Yep, it's a minor thing. It's got to be. I bet it's like one little variable toggle, or one little not check. So we're gonna call it a night there. I gotta figure this out. And it's gonna be tiny. I know that it is. I'm going to turn this back on real quick and see what that does, because it's probably gonna fix the stutter at the very least. That is very problematic. So if we contain that key and we contain this position, we want to skip it. That should be correct. But I'm not really sure what else to do about it. Because this, I'm pretty sure, was just stopping us from cleaning up things that were outside of the bounds, which is why the wrap buffers were functioning, but they were technically not functioning properly. And that is also probably why they don't clean up properly. So, boo. Boo, 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 boo. Just going to see if that hypothesis is correct. All right, so while we're doing that, announcements. We should be good for this weekend. So nothing really schedule-wise is changing, so we should be clear for a good stream this weekend. Ooh, wow, that is not something that we have seen in a long time. Key not found exception. Wow, hey. I'm just going to see if it like fails right here. I assume that it will. But cool. All right, so yeah, we're going to go ahead and stop for the night there. These are in the same spot, though. Both take place at, what's that, new 354. Awesome. Oh, right, because that was an ore before. So, yeah. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and end it there. I'm very mad that I couldn't get that solved. But at the very least, we have fog working. So, we have fog synced up, and we have fog optionally turned on and off for each individual section. A little bit of cleanup there. Basically, all we have left is just making sure that everything recycles properly, and then we should be good. So, all right. As always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.